my friends, and welcome to another episode of the Machine Shop Mastery Podcast. Today, I had a really just fun, delightful conversation with Scott Bruneau from Delaware Metals. Scott and his wife bought Delaware Metals about 2 years ago. It was a business that was many decades old and run well, led well, but they are so excited to have realized their dream of machine shop ownership, and they're doing this for all the right reasons. I won't get into all of them. We'll let Scott describe that in the conversation, but they are truly here to help lift up American manufacturing, their community, their team, their customers, and it's all good stuff. So I love that Scott is really focused on he's doing all the right things, reinvesting in equipment, building the culture, growing the team, helping build a younger team that can grow with them, give them opportunities for career advancement, just so many wonderful things they're doing. So without further ado, let's just dig into the episode and go. I think you'll be smiling ear to ear by the end, just like I was, hearing what a virtuous, wonderful place that they're building there at Delaware Metals with Scott. Let's go for it. Good afternoon, Scott. Welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for being on here. I really appreciate you making the time out of your busy schedule to sit down with me and talk shop. So let's get into it. Tell us about Delaware Metals and a little bit about your background.
Wow, there's a lot of history there. Delaware Metals has been in existence for 73 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
a long time.
lot of storied history. Started as a manufacturing facility, morphed into a manual machine shop, and then now we're a full-service CNC shop with 22 CNC machines, fully half and half, turning and milling. And my wife and I have owned Delaware Metals now for a little over 2 years.
Okay, that is very cool to be able to buy and take over a company with that much history behind it.
Yeah, as part of what drew us in here is the long-term customers, long-term employees, good history base, and a good quality background to build upon.
Did you have any interaction with the company prior to buying it, or did you just find it on the market and end up acquiring it?
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't have any personal history with it. We did find it on the market. It was being sold very quietly. It was not an overt sale. So we were very fortunate to find it. And then the owner was very happy with our offer and our backgrounds to perpetuate its next generation of operation.
Okay, very cool. Well, I do want to get more into maybe the buying process, because that is a topic that is increasingly talked about because there's so many baby boomers, and guessing that person might have been one, looking to exit their businesses, and so much opportunity. But let's first talk about you and your wife and what you did and what led you to want to buy a machine shop.
Well, I've been in the industry for the last 23 years. I started as a $6 an hour quality inspector, and has worked my way up into several different roles. The last 15 years have been in leadership. So worked in a bunch of great shops and fantastic leadership and ownership. And then some other shops that probably weren't so great in my estimation, but learned a lot from each shop that I had. And my wife is she's in the finance sector and works in that area. And we always talked about how having our own business would be beneficial for our desire and dreams to help others and to have a legacy, not only with our kids, but with the community and those around us.
Those are all the right reasons, man. That's awesome.
So that's what keeps us going at those 20-hour days sometimes.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Because you came from the industry, I imagine you kind of had some inkling of what you were getting into.
Nothing ever prepares you for being in the pilot's seat. As much as you think you might know, what I've always told somebody is that I always had a layer of responsibility above me. So it was easy to shift the blame up and forego perhaps making that end decision. Whereas now the buck stops with my wife and I, and we're a female-owned company. And I run the day-to-day operations. So it keeps us on our toes. We want to make sure we're making the right decisions, both from a stewardship of the company, but also the right decisions for our employees and for our customers.
And tell me a little bit now about what the shop snapshot of what it looks like today, what you specialize in, just kind of what kind of work you do.
That was one of the things that drew me to Delaware Metals and why we wanted to ultimately acquire this as opposed to any of the other shops. We started with a foundation of really good machines, very precise automation machines, and we wanted to build upon that. So our niche is handheld high precision. So we can do anywhere from prototype to production, virtually any material, but we really specialize in the very precise parts that take maybe a little bit longer, a little particular, and quality is something that we do focus on because that's my background for the last 23 years.
And when you say handheld, you mean it's something you can hold in your hands?
Yeah, we don't. I think we only have one crane in the entire facility, and that's to extricate or load in tombstones into one of our machines.
Yep.
But if it's raw material that it takes anything more than one person to lift, that's not a part that we want to really delve into. Not that it's something we can't do, but you find yourself chasing that rabbit down the path of, well, if I got just a bigger machine, I could do a little bit more.
Sure.
And you chase that one, and then pretty soon you have 3 machines that take the spot of 6, where we are on smaller scale. So a 12 by 12 envelope fits very well into our capabilities.
And how many machines do you have?
22. It's equally
22.
divided between 11 lathes and 11 mills.
Oh, that's a nice balance. Yeah, very good. Yeah, that size was, for the most part, what my shop specialized in too. We ended up in the last few years getting some bigger machines. We had a gantry router. We had a VF7, but most of the things we specialized in, were sort of bread box size. And with more complex features that take a long time to machine and a lot of QA and all that kind of stuff. It's a good niche to be in. When you bought the business, is it the case that the owner was just sort of getting on in his years and wanting to just retire and enjoy the fruits of his labor?
It's a funny thing, and I have a very strong relationship with the previous owner. We developed it over a short amount of time. He worked for the company for 9 years, developed a really good relationship with the original owner, and was able to buy it through the owner, both the land and the business. And then he was in an ownership capacity for 31 years. So virtually it was for 40 years he worked in the same facility. He was only 4 years older than me. So he's getting out as I'm getting in, and it's like, hey, something's wrong. But he had done it for so long, and he'd really run the business so well that it took care of his family and his needs. And it was just human resourcing was taking its toll on him, just trying to manage that he just said, hey, it's a great time to exit. And the company was doing so very well with its current customer base that he felt it was a good exit strategy.
Yeah, it's always a good time to exit when things are going great, right?
Right.
That's when the valuations and multiples are the best. So
yeah, it worked out well for him, but it also worked out well for us because we knew what those strengths were, and we were able to magnify and leverage those. So it helped out.
And in the 2 years or so that you've owned it, tell us a little bit about what's transpired since then, other than putting 20-hour days sometimes.
Well, the good thing is it's a passion. So when you do that, the time goes by very quickly. We've transitioned the shop to where we're now AS certified as well. We're ISO. We carry dual certification, ISO 9001, AS 9100D. We transitioned from our old ERP system to a rickety ERP system called ProShop. No, that has been an absolute gold mine of a find for us. So we transitioned to ProShop, leveraging that for our AS certification, and it's helped us in many ways. We've added 6 new machines.
Wow.
Replacing some very tired machines. Didn't necessarily increase our total number, but certainly increased our capabilities and capacity. We added a 9-axis lathe, another 5-axis mill, and some newer 2-axis lathes and 3-axis mills just to bolster our capabilities, strengthen our quality system. We have a articulating head 5-axis CMM, augmenting our quality shop now.
Yeah.
Everything from reorganization of the shop. We took Of all of our machines, we took 15 of them out of the shop and replaced them so that we had a better process flow. So that's helped us in our streamlining and how we're able to man our machines. New LED lights, captive air supply system, little nuanced improvements to help maximize what we're able to do as a shop to where we're not constantly trying to fix or chase a bug.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then just trying to improve our training of our current associates, bring on new talent, just help grow for the next foundational leverage.
That sounds like really important, awesome moves to be making. Very cool.
Thank you.
So if it was going well when you bought it, was there a strong backlog, good client diversity, or was there any opportunities there that sometimes I hear the story when shops sell, they're a pretty high percentage with one or two clients, and diversification is a key priority with the new owners. How's that been for you?
I think the previous owner did a fantastic job with his customer base. A lot of them were long-serving customers, so they kept them well. We looked to diversify because we felt that with our specialty machinery, we could leverage it better. That it wasn't being leveraged enough. We have a Yazda PX30i that is
beautiful.
Yeah, it's a Micron precision machine that was being used for production parts. And so that's in my vision. When I looked at the blueprint of the shop, I said, this is an AS certified shop.
Mm-hmm.
We should get the foundational pieces in place and move ourselves towards aerospace, because with the Yazda and a couple of other additions that we made, we definitely could service that industry and do it very, very well. And that's something that we've taken advantage of and have now since moved into that area.
Nice. When you got your AS certification, did you do any corresponding marketing pushes or sales to try to really get into those industries, or did you have connections personally previously that you leveraged to sort of expand into that industry?
Most of my manufacturing experience came in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, so hence most of my connections are there.
Mm-hmm.
The number one manufacturing hub is on the East Coast where we're currently at. So I knew it was just a matter of time, and we've since partnered with a Dan Etchenkamp with Aero Growth.
Oh yeah,
And he has launched us into the stratosphere of where we pretty much have to say, Dan, hold back a little bit. Let's make sure we can meet this demand. So
that is awesome.
We are fully in with some very wonderful customers, as well as still serving our long-standing customers that we've had for 25 years. It's a great balance.
Great plug for Dan. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, he's done phenomenal.
I see his content on LinkedIn. It sure looks like he knows what he's talking about, but it's great to know that he's delivering for you just like he talks about. That's wonderful.
He is, and he's partnered. I've been able to partner with Tony Kelbert as well, with LinkedIn material and trying to get Delaware Metals out there a little bit known, posting on our stuff. And for me, it's an area that I haven't necessarily focused, but in this generation, that's exactly where we need to be. So it's certainly helped us quite a bit.
Well, good for you for recognizing the areas of strength and the areas where you could use support and just leaning right into that. Because I definitely see a lot of shop owners that don't do that, right? They just kind of try to pick out a way themselves and, don't have the best results. And really attacking it head on with a team of experts is clearly a good way to go.
Yeah, I want our team to be made up of subject matter experts in their own areas so that we can have that comprehensive, all-rounded good team.
Yeah. So speaking of team, how was the team when you brought it on? How have you engaged in things like workforce development or improving your culture or anything around that area?
Well, that's a very, very good question. The team was capable. They were able to deal with all the legacy stuff very well. I've got a couple of guys specifically on my team that, hands down, in 23 years, they're the best I've ever worked with in their particular fields. So those were areas that, you definitely want to build around and support. I did feel that there was a little bit of a nuance where we want to make sure agility. We wanted to build in agility, that we could pivot as our customer needs pivot. And specifically in the regulated areas, we needed to improve our talent to make sure we meet those quality demands. So it was imperative for us the first year or so as we're building up to our AS certification that we have the foundational pieces, that we enhance internal training, that we develop personnel internally or hire externally. And that's an ever evolving challenge of ours. So the team was fantastic, and we've only built upon it since then. There have been some members that have chosen to leave simply because their focus and our focus wasn't the same. And I want them to absolutely feel absolutely supported in what they want to pursue. Culture is very important. It's is as important to us as talent is to have the right culture within our shop. And that culture to us is if we have a team member that's struggling or needs help or having a difficult setup or not getting the right finish on a part, that anytime they raise their hand, people are going to drop what they're doing to come help them. Some of the older shops that I've been in, people tried to hold on to that knowledge, tribal knowledge that they felt made them feel important or solidified their job.
Mm-hmm.
And we emphasize just the opposite. We want to train the trainer. We want to train everybody. I want to have a succession plan so that if people go on vacation, we definitely will miss that person, but we're not missing the skills because other people are able to take up that gap for that short time frame. So it's an ever evolving challenge, getting the right people, square peg, square hole, good to great. Put it the best way when you know have all the right people on the bus, and you take it a step further and you make sure they're in the right seat too. So it's probably the biggest challenge, and it's the most rewarding challenge when it hits right. So it's fun and taxing all at the same time.
Yeah. You mentioned one of the reasons for even buying this shop is supporting people. And you just alluded to it now with making sure they're on the right seat on the bus and train them and cross train and all those things. Has that aspect of it been just what you had hoped?
We haven't realized that full potential yet.
Okay.
So I talked to, and it's a learning process for me. As an owner, you don't step into it at the pinnacle of your knowledge. It's always a learning plane going on the way up. So for me, it's a matter of how can I learn to be a better communicator, a better facilitator, an influencer, and pass those things on to those that are part of our team. And I tell them this, it's my job to provide a safe environment. And that means not only physical safe, but also know that they have a job this month, next year. They have a career, not a job, that they have an opportunity to grow those skills. And then when it comes to helping the community, it's we want to be in a position where our company is financially and materially doing so well, we can provide scholarships for the technical colleges, that we can hire interns when they're needed and give them a taste of this is what new age work looks like. And we're working on cutting edge machines and cutting edge parts that go everywhere on this earth and beyond. And it's a really, really cool profession, and we're here to try and propagate the belief that U.S. manufacturing is fantastic and it's wonderful and it's everything that it should be, and we should grow it and do the most we can with it.
Amen. That was fantastic. Yeah, I'm there with you. Can I get a job? That sounds
Absolutely.
great. That sounds great.
We have a great ERP system that we're probably only tickling with. So.
Oh man, very good. And how do you find new employees?
The best ones have come from word of mouth. I can put the plugs out there for recruiting, but we really haven't had much luck there. It's all come from people that have in machine shops, and I've found this for the bulk of my entire career, and other machinists and people in the industry can attest to it. It's like 6 degrees separation. You've worked at a shop that worked with somebody, you knew this guy, this gal, and saying, hey, I've got this one person and they'd be really good on this, and they really like Akumas or Mazaks or whatever machines you have, and then having them come in here. So we sponsor our staffing and saying, hey, if you have a friend and they come and work for us, at their 90 days, you get a hiring bonus for bringing them on.
Nice.
Because this is your team too. This is your work family. And, sometimes it works out. And we've had a lot of good success that way. So we're trying to perpetuate it and keep it. We do run lean because that's just the nature of the beast. But we are trying to build our skill sets, and with the number of multi-axis machines and ever development, we want to keep training and keep growing that skill set for lots of them.
Speaking of the word lean, which you meant differently, but is that sort of lean methodologies, lean manufacturing practices, were those embedded in the company when you bought it, or have you introduced that, or not quite there yet?
So I grew up lean, Six Sigma black belt. It's
Oh, good for you.
been ingrained in quality procedures and the right methodology in 5S, and I've had some really good mentors. So that was something that I did bring to the shop in a little bit more robust fashion than what was here previously. And again, what they did before worked fantastic for them. They did a phenomenal job. But my interpretation's a little bit different. You may prefer a white background. For me, I may prefer eggshell. It's just a deviation of the same approach. So
Sure.
implementing it and having it where we now run cells, whereas before it was one person, one machine. So that's how we're able to get a little bit better throughput and still keep on cadence with our schedule without overtaxing individuals.
Sure. Yeah, you mentioned laying out the shop or moving things. So tell us a little bit about the changes you made with building cells and how you're actually using the folks to run multiple machines or jobs at a time.
Well, it's funny, and most folks can also agree with this. Machinists are hoarders. They keep everything. So when you go through a shop, every horizontal surface is used to store something. Chances are it may be used at some point in the future, but realistically, it's probably got better value utilized elsewhere. So we cleaned out the shop, we reorganized it, laid things out. Every cell is either a lathe mill combination, or we do have a couple of lathe combinations.
Okay.
So you may come in and say, well, I'm a lathe machinist by trade. Fantastic. You're going to set up your own lathes, whereas my mill machinist will help set up your mill, and you'll be an operator on that, a button pusher. But we're going to teach you how to become a mill setup person and how to learn that skill set. Those that ordinarily were like, nope, I only want to turn stuff, I don't want to mill it, have actually embraced it and been challenged in a very positive manner on, wow, this is a new spectrum of my career that I didn't think I would embrace, but I really find it refreshing. And it's provided a new energy source, if you will, for people to have a passion about it and learning a new area, because they're two totally different sectors of the machining world.
Yeah.
So we've done that, and it's helped our staff to where we could have troubleshooters on each side of the playing field coordinate together, and hey, how can we get this part that needs a lathe and a mill op? Well, now all of a sudden, after the first part, you're putting it in the mill and you're finishing off the part, and we're getting complete parts, whereas before you'd have to restack them on the pallet, wait till the mill opens, and somebody else has to. So the throughput is a lot better. The coordinated efforts are much improved. So people are talking, they're working together, and allows good collaboration within the shop.
Man, that's good stuff. So I imagine, and you kind of alluded to this, some of it is you're flowing the same work order across a mill and a lathe, or lathe and a mill, depending on, right, in sort of like a flow process.
Yep.
And other times, depending on the part, the mill might be spitting off a job complete, and the lathe is working its own job separately. And sometimes they're running two work orders at the same time.
Yeah, they're running different work orders, and we try very hard in our planning and scheduling to make sure that, well, if that's got a 2-minute cycle time, then the next one we should put over there has probably got an 8-minute cycle time, or 10, right, or something, a longer run, so that we balance out that workload, because we want to be cognitive to their needs and not overstress them. If they're working on a week and it's a fast pace, we're a job shop. So we do what the customer asks us to make. So some of those are high demand, very articulate, and we do a 10% machinist inspection, as well as quality random inspection, and first article and final part. So we have a very rigorous inspection plan in place, regardless of who the customer is. And that's a lot of work. So we want to be mindful of that and not overwhelm them.
Yeah, that's great. So I'm curious, maybe this is a little in the weeds, but it came up on another podcast recently. talking about in-process inspection and doing 10%. And something that we did at our shop, which it wasn't my idea, so I can talk about it and gush on the people that designed the process. But as opposed to doing, checking every 10th part for a full IPC, in-process check, we took the habit of checking every single part, some of the IPC dimensions, so that we were always looking at every single part, checking a little bit, and then moving on to the next set of dimensions on the next piece. But that additional set of, eyeballs, like really closely looking at it, was both good from a cosmetics perspective or just seeing anything that might be going awry, surface finishes, whatever. But it also balanced out the cycle time, like the tack time, right? So instead of having to do a 5-minute inspection on a 2-minute cycle time every 10th part, you're doing, 30 seconds of inspection all the way along, and it's keeping it really balanced. Is that something that you guys have employed?
We do a hybrid of that. Absolutely. Okay. So the machinist does the full inspection at the part numbers that he's supposed to do it. So it's 10%. We do roving inspection where the quality inspector, we're averaging 4 to 5 entire trips around the shop. So all 22 machines get hit 4 to 5 times a day. They don't do the 100% inspection. We're going to do, if it's got 20 critical dimensions, we're going to do 5 this trip, 5 the next thing. And so they get to do it at different stages. At the same point in time, we get to chart the trends. What are we seeing? Is our surface finish creeping up? Is this dimension creeping where we don't need to see it, where you may not see it at every 10th? So we do have that variability where we're not doing 100% of 100% on each rotation. It allows our inspectors to have a different set of eyes and a different approach to it, and maybe see something that maybe there might be a hanging burr that the operator's not seeing or the machinist isn't, that we always want to make sure we can catch. And touch wood, we've not had, in 2+ years, we've not had any escaping defects to our customers.
Good for you. Amazing.
But it's always trying to build in quality, not inspect it in.
Yeah.
And that's where I turn back to my machinists, my top machinists, and my CMM guy, that they really, really are rigorous on that, making sure the processes are correct.
Imagine some of those quality practices are things you brought in that weren't quite in place previously.
Yeah, I'm not a machinist. I'm not. So I have to defer to my lead guys, and I know enough to be sometimes helpful, sometimes dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
But quality was my jam, and I did it at some really great companies with some really fantastic mentors. And so that area, it was something, and I did it in all regulated environments. So I'm lead auditor in a number of things. And so it was bringing a different rigor to it helped out quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And understanding where quality's focus needs to be, as opposed to, again, efficiency is where the name of the game.
Yeah.
So if it's not adding value, it's waste.
Any wisdom to share with listeners about how to bring that more quality-minded focus into the team and have them really get on board and get behind it with you?
A lot of it was, I knew what ideas I thought I wanted to implement. What I started with was, I had some people that have been here 20+ years, 15+ years. I turned it over to them. What do you think would work? What do you think didn't work? How could we improve it? What did you do well in the past that worked well for this complicated part that we could carbon copy or poke-yoke somewhere else? So letting them drive the initiatives was probably the best way for getting buy-in. Because if I came in and said, well, shoot, I'm the quality guru here, you must do what I say.
Sure.
That would be very uphill battle. So a lot of them had great ideas. Most of them worked out exceptionally well. Some of them didn't, and we pivoted, and it was great. Stop, start, and continue.
Yeah.
Constantly evaluating how we can make things better, from how we store our saved programs in ProShop to how we do our setup sheets and pictures and all of that to make it the next time that much faster, easier to set up and do again for legacy parts.
Sometimes in the conversations I have, it's revealed that sort of culturally, there's sometimes in shops, and maybe you've experienced this in your past, there's kind of like the office folks and then there's the shop folks. And sometimes there's a little bit of a gap between that in terms of how the shop people feel connected as part of the process, like their voice is heard, and they can contribute their ideas, which we all know they have the best ideas because they're right there doing it every day, right? So they really know it intimately. How have you facilitated, building that connection, making sure that really is one team all working towards the same goal?
Well, part of us going lean was making sure I'm involved on the floor. We don't have dedicated leaders, if you will. It's everybody has a voice. First of all, everybody's a quality inspector is what I say, because they handle the parts 100%. So they have a say in quality. They have a say in improvement. Secondly, my door is 100% open and I'm on the floor a lot, not telling them what to do, not trying to dictate things. I'm doing the silly stuff. I can sweep the floor while they're making parts. I can help with the quality inspection sheets while they're facilitating a CMM inspection or whatnot. So I try and keep things. My job is to remove obstacles so their job's easier. And they recognize that. And so they lean into that really well to say, all right, he's here to help us. We get all the tools that we need to do the jobs right. So they've really understood that we're here to help them and it's not a cash grab, or we're not the lazy owners that try and just sit back and seagull manage. So they've bought in that, I'll get out there and I'll pressure wash coolant tanks to make sure we have clean machines and get the right coolant so that they're not messing about with stinky machines. So they understand and they bought in that we're dedicated to them, and that to me is by example the best way to get their buy-in.
That is so great. That is so good. Yeah, and it probably takes a little bit of time to build that trust up. You got to keep showing up, doing the work, being there. It's not an overnight light switch process.
No, it isn't, and I've failed just as many times as I've had successes. So believe me, I've quoted on jobs and I've been awarded jobs that my machinist has looked at me and said, "What the heck are you doing to us?" and realistically, and you've got to own your mistakes. And so I turn right to him and or to the team and say, "Hey, really, I stuck you guys in a bad position. I'm sorry, that was my fault." So leaning into the successes and the mistakes is something that you have to do to gain that credibility and keep the credibility. And it's an ever changing thing. I mean, because the challenges sure don't stop coming at you.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. I love all this that you're sharing. This is really what people need to hear. I was thinking about going back and asking you a little bit about the buying process and advice to both maybe shop owners that might be looking to sell in the next few years and people that are looking to buy shops. I know there's definitely people listening that are in the market to buy machine shops. And do you feel like you can share a few pearls of wisdom for both sides of the transaction?
Well, I'll give you an example that helped us, and it's called a Rob's rollover. And that's where you can take existing 401k from previous employers, not your current employer, and you can basically take that 401k money that you have and roll it over into the 401k for your purchase, and it counts towards your down payment. And that was how we were able to finance our down payment through a small business loan, an SBA loan.
Wow.
So instead of having to pony up and do all of this, we were able to tap into our savings and use our 401k from previous employers and really leverage 20 years of working experience. And that's our down payment. And it allowed us to, this shop is bigger than what we had thought. I honestly was thinking about a 5 machine shop and not nearly as big a gross revenue, but this is 30 minutes from the house. It just fit. Everything worked right. The previous owner was fantastic to work with. So we took the jump and we were able to transition and make it. So that's the plus that people don't necessarily understand. And I kind of fell into that knowledge in my research of how to finance a business purchase. I would say as words of caution, be very mindful. The Small Business Association will be happy to give you a loan. They're also happy to charge you a lot of interest to make a ton of money from you in the course of that loan.
Right.
So you're going to be stuck with that. And the banks don't want to pivot away from that because they're making a ton of money off of you.
Mm-hmm.
So going away from a variable plus 2.25% note to a fixed conventional loan, even if you've got a preponderance of assets to collateralize, they're not necessarily willful to go towards that. So
Mm-hmm.
be mindful if you can do it a different way, that might be helpful. But otherwise, you're going to be saddled paying a lot of interest.
What are some of the different ways to finance or get a loan on a company like this?
I mean, you could do it as an asset sale. So because we got a better, we made an offer. The previous owner accepted our offer. It was less than some competitive offers, but he liked how we were going to transition and take the company. As a result, he wanted to do a stock sale, and
Mm-hmm.
we were okay with that. But if you were able to collateralize everything and say, okay, we can do that, that makes it easier. And SBA doesn't collateralize individually; they just kind of do a blanket lien, and
Mm-hmm.
that's all. So if you could do that, if you could leverage any personal assets that you have to finance it, that would be helpful too,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to getting into a variable rate with SBA, because we'll probably have to sit 3 to 5 years before we can refinance. And then, that's a lot of lost earnings for us and
Mm-hmm.
potential growth. It kind of puts you behind the curve a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Just things to be mindful of that, you get excited about, ooh, we're going to be a small business owner,
Mm-hmm.
but there are those things that are a little bit of a hindrance.
Sure, sure. So I understand, and I'm not an expert in this part of it, but when you do a stock sale, any previous liabilities come with the business, right? It's not like it's a completely new entity, right? You are continuing the same business that it was
Mm-hmm.
before, and having a good amount of trust that there's no skeletons in the closet that are going to come back and bite you is an important part of the due diligence that someone should consider. Yeah.
We did phenomenal due diligence. And again, I can't applaud the previous owner enough. And I had a good negotiator help us with this. We did a 1 year indemnification time frame where
Mm-hmm.
they set aside a certain amount of money that could not be touched in the event that something came back, whether it was a quality rejection that was super impactful, anything like that. So it was a good partnership. He knew he was leaving some money out there that for a year wasn't generating interest or growth for him,
Mm-hmm.
but he took that and didn't have a problem with it just for the peace of mind that for that 1 year. And then after that, it's all on us because, you
Sure.
know, we're
Yeah.
making the parts now. We're doing everything. So he was fantastic in partnering with that, and it took care of both sides at the same time.
Yeah, that's a great tip. And the fact that he was willing to do it is a good sign that there probably aren't any real big
Yeah.
skeletons in the closet. So,
And my wife, with her financial background, we really dove deep. I would recommend make sure you have all the right people in the right seats for that review, for that due diligence. You've got to have legal, you have to have financial, you got to understand what the balance sheets are telling you for year over year. Don't just look at hey, we've had 3 great years in the past 3 years. You
mhm.
want to dive deeper to make sure what's the trend. It's not an anomaly. It's you've got some real growth and sustainability there.
How many years did you go back?
We went 7.
Oh,
We saw
nice.
7 direct, and we saw trends. We saw some. Hey, what happened to this year when it went down? And we asked some
Hmm.
very direct questions, and it was a very open dialogue of the whys and the wherefores, and we were very happy with the conversation and happy with the results. And 2+ years into it, nothing has proven different. So it was
Uh,
for us, it was a very good experience.
yeah, yeah, that's wonderful. So, coming back to something you said earlier, and I can totally relate to this about because I did the estimating and quoting at our shop for most of my years there. It's like, hey, I messed this one up, guys. Sorry about that. Are you fairly transparent with job costing and like just sharing how things are going with the team?
100%.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, I don't share the financial statements with them, but they absolutely know the retail and the cost and our shop rate on everything, because and we go through it with what's the cost of quality on a scrapped part, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
3x multiplier. And so we want them to understand that, not that they're scared of it, but we want to understand the impact of, hey, profitability. And that profitability is your raise, your bonus, your
Yeah.
added vacation, things that we want to do for them so that they understand, hey, I am a contributor for the growth. We do a 4% 401k match, and it's like we don't want to jeopardize any of those benefits that we provide that because we become less profitable. So
Mm-hmm.
we absolutely communicate that to everybody. And then there are, just like at any company, there's the select few that really take that to heart and want to be the key contributors and that are invested long term. And we want to see Delaware Metals grow. And my name's associated with that. So let's cut this waste out, whether
Mm-hmm.
that's inefficient time or scrap or anything. I mean, we understand a setup part's going to be needed, but it shouldn't be 8 of them.
Sure. Yeah, for
So
sure.
how can we do things better so that we eliminate that kind of waste or scrap?
Got it. As you grow, how do you share with the team about upward mobility into different roles, or sort of building out their career beyond just the role they're in today?
So I learned this again from some previous mentors that I had. Quick side story: when we were looking to buy the shop, an operations director that hired me as a quality inspector 16, 18 years ago, I invited and flew him into our area. He stayed with us for a couple of days, took him to the shop, and I said, "Here's the tour." He asked as many questions as we had asked, and I asked him at the end, "Would this be a shop that you would buy?" And he goes, "Well, if you don't buy it, I will." So it's like, all right, that's a great indicator.
Yeah.
After we had ownership of the shop for a few months, he came back again, and for 2 weeks he worked for me in the operations to say, "Hey, here's the good, the bad, the ugly," and to
Mm-hmm.
kind of give me, you're in a different position. Here's what you need to be looking for. So he and a few others were able to help educate me as I grew into my roles. So we have quarterly reviews with our employees. So every 3 months we have a face-to-face one-on-one. And part of that discussion is, what are your goals? What what do you want to accomplish, and in what time frame? What are you going to do to help accomplish those goals? And what do you need us from the company's perspective to help you to accomplish those goals? And it could be anything where, hey, I want to learn Mastercam programming. And we've implemented a training room with our conference room where we have we have our pro shop, we have Mastercam, so they can play. And it's a safe environment for them I'm going to learn about pro shop, or I'm going to learn about Mastercam, and I'm going to do that. And so I'll give them that time throughout the week to say, all right, you go learn on that. And then now let's apply what you'll learn to real life parts that we're cutting chips on and making money.
I love it.
So it's allowing them to have that. And I learned this from one of my employees, that dabble time,
Mm-hmm.
because at a job shop we're busy, and if you're not busy, you should be. So it's still being mindful that these are humans that want to grow. They want to have a good, fun environment. I preach that I want them to smile as much coming to work as they do leaving work. So in order to do that, we've got to facilitate what are those goals and ambitions, and what can we do to partner with you to get it accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a partnership in getting it done.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Great answer. I'm sure people have their notepads out scribbling furiously.
Everything we've learned from somebody else. So I was astute enough to learn from the people that tried to teach me, and hopefully it's in practice, it's working out as well as I hope it is.
It's the same way I've learned everything I know. So
Yep.
yeah, we're in good company there. I'm curious to have you share some of the biggest challenges you guys are facing today and what you're doing about it.
It's personnel. It's personnel. I mean, the amount of people that we've had come in the shop that overstate their capabilities
Mm,
is phenomenal. And it's listen, we're a job shop. We maybe not always have the perfect environment to learn or grow, or the pace. Some people want a slower pace, and we try to think that we're not throwing people into the fire But sometimes if you're short a machinist and you need that machine run and problem solved, and this person says, I have all of these abilities, it's like, all right, great, here you go. Here's your first quick win, if you will. And there are a lot of people that I don't, for whatever reason, they've perhaps not as comfortable with the skills as they said they might have been. And in a faster paced work environment, or in this environment, it's not proven very
Mm-hmm.
well. And then recruiting, the amount of recruiters that don't know the difference between a machinist and an operator, that
Mm-hmm.
couldn't, that don't, or they're not able to discern their natural skills that they have to present to you. Here is a qualified candidate.
Mm-hmm.
Is troublesome. It's a lot of time that I have to take up reading a resume. And I laugh. I had one presented to me that said 15 years. He's a tier one machinist. I read his resume, and he graduated high school 7 years ago. I doubt he was working in a machine shop in middle school to get that experience. So I kind of
Oh man.
the math is not mathing for me.
Oh my gosh.
So it's trying to find the right fit. Square peg, square hole.
Mm-hmm.
We're like any other company. We're trying to just grow, take care of our customers, take care of our employees, and see how we can get better day by day.
Yeah, we ended up going to, for machinists, having tests, right? We would
Mm.
have them come in and actually do a written test and then go out on a machine and try proving out something, or, we'd have a little test program and set this up and run it and, have someone right there making sure they're not going to crash the machine or whatever. But those tests did reveal a lot.
Right.
Asking them a nuanced question about how do you troubleshoot a tolerance, given this situation, right? Trying to steer them to cutter deflection might be one of the things, but some people get it and some people just have no idea. You're like,
Yeah,
well, you're not actually as skilled or experienced as you let on. So yeah, it's a tricky one.
it is. I interview for culture fit because I'm not a machinist, and I'll
Right.
tell them point blank, I'm not going to be the guy that's over your shoulder micromanaging. But I want to make sure your personality is going to fit with the core members that I have to support, that I have to give
Mm-hmm.
a good cast around. And then my lead machinist does a lot of the interviews to see what their technical skills are like. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
from the very basics of, tell me what the nomenclature on an insert tells you. Um,
Oh, great.
those kinds of things. What would you use on an aluminum finishing pass? And what would your feed and speeds be? And those kind of things. Or where would you find it if you don't know?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we try and do as best as we can. And
Mm-hmm.
some people finagle their way around it. Some people do know, and they just don't want to work fast.
Right. That is a different problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think everyone is right there nodding their head that's one of the challenges they're facing as well.
100%. Yeah, it's a difficult way to get through, and that's what the previous owner said. It's time for me to not try and fight this anymore, and it's
Mhm.
it's somebody else's time.
Sure.
But we got a great team, and we're just always looking to, how can we grow and do better.
Yeah. 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 With the folks that you have brought on, are you able to, hire some younger folks? And, I guess I'm, getting to, tenure is awesome, but tenure also comes with, the risk of someone on your team retiring and taking all that knowledge with them. And oftentimes sort of helping shift the demographic to a younger, that can have another 20 years with you is a priority for new shop leaders and owners. As the average age of your team kind of skewed younger as over the last couple of years as you brought on new people?
It absolutely has. We had a 32-year veteran of our shop retire a year into my ownership.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
he's still local. He still stays in contact with us. And since he left, we've migrated to Pro Shop, and we've called him up a few times and say, hey, listen, we'll pay you for the couple of hours, but please tell us what's the setup on this part, because legacy knowledge
Wow.
went with him.
Yeah.
So we've had to learn our lessons in that regard. But our average age is under 40 for our shop, which is
Oh, that's
very good.
fantastic. Right.
And we've got a good balance of 20, 25-year veterans that are in their 40s to a 20-year-old, soon to be 21-year-old that just came out of tech school.
Mm-hmm.
And then a couple of in-betweens, folks with 5, 7 years experience that never really had the mentorship that they needed to learn the skill and the trades to be a good machinist. And so now we're trying to, how can we give that to you? How can we develop that career for you?
Yeah.
So we've brought it down, and we're trying to give it a delicate balance between projects of the operator trying to learn and grow versus an experienced machinist that you can almost leave unattended.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sure. Sure. And in order to attract that younger team, is there anything that you would say has helped in that regard?
Patience, because there's a lot of them, like our young man from the tech school. Well, I can program. Okay. Here's a piece in aluminum. Program it. Now program that same part in steel. Now do it in
Mhm.
titanium. Now all of a sudden he's starting to get the picture, because speeds, feeds, tooling, number of
Sure.
flutes, all of that is totally different.
Yeah.
That isn't something that was necessarily explained to him. So having the patience to, hey, I will be okay with you scrapping parts in earnest with the
Mhm.
effort. If you're paying attention, if you're at your machine and a part is scrapped, I'm okay with that. We all learn. So making sure they understand that you're partnering with them and not just, it's not a sink or swim kind of thing, and
Mhm.
has been what has absolutely helped them the most. And then I also try and assign one of my lead or experienced machinists as a mentor or sponsor for them. Hey,
Mm.
help him out. If he has questions, he may not feel comfortable going to the top machinist, but try and partner with him, and I'll assign them to areas that are close to each other so that they can develop a good communicating working relationship, so that there's some comfortability asking the questions and not feeling like, oh, I'm an idiot for asking. No, you're just trying to learn. So
Mhm. Mhm.
there's some familiarity with that, and trying to build that sponsorship. And then when you're frustrated, sometimes you need to have a comfort level with someone to have a 4-letter conversation, and get that frustration out there, and maybe we can fix it, maybe we can make it better. So
Yeah.
understanding it's the first course.
Yeah. That's interesting, that your comment about knowing how to program, but not necessarily different materials. Like knowing the keys to press in the CAD CAM system is an entirely different skill set than knowing how to apply them to different situations, right?
100%. I've got a wizard who's my lead machinist, an absolute wizard. I have a guy who's my CMM programmer that wanted to come and be a machinist, and I said, okay, if that's what's going to make you happy, let's do it. In 8 months, he's become my third best machinist because he's that smart. But all of that knowledge, and he's technically gifted when it comes to tech stuff and programming, is 100% applicable. If you don't know the characteristics of material and how it machines, and not just the speeds and the feeds, but the nuances of the material, how to approach it, and depth
Yeah.
of cuts, and all of that, I don't care how good of a programmer you are, you're going to ruin some tools. You're going to mess up a machine
Yeah.
once or twice before you get it all figured out. And he's flat said, yeah, it's going to take me, at least a couple of years before I'm comfortable
Sure.
doing this. I mean, the first
Yeah.
time titanium sucked the tool out of his tool holder, he was like, go, yeah, point proven.
Yeah. No doubt. Well, I'll tell you a funny story, completely unrelated to anything except what we were just talking about. After I sold my shop and before we really started Pro Shop in earnest, I got pulled into doing a bunch of consulting with Microsoft and some of their suppliers in China. And I remember going there the very first trip, and I was trying to help them optimize the machining cycle time of the Surface devices.
Mm.
Right. So they're very high production and they need to really optimize those cycle times. So I walk into this programming office, and there's, probably a dozen early 20 something, guys all chain smoking, which was so gross. But as we start working through a translator to talk about how they choose their programs and their tools and this and that, it became clear that they knew their CAM system really well, but they didn't know hardly anything about machining. They didn't even know how many flutes were on the tools that they were programming with.
Yeah.
They didn't even know what I meant by flutes. We were drawing on the whiteboard, and the translators trying to describe, what I mean by flute in English, cutting edges. Finally, they were like, "Oh yeah, we understand." And no, we don't know. And just blew my mind. So yeah, it just very, very different skill sets, software experience versus machining experience. So
absolutely. And and it doesn't always translate.
No, for sure.
So unfortunately, they teach these kids right now in the tech schools. They teach them, well, we're going to teach you the CAD CAM system, and you can be a programmer. And it's like, no, get them on a bridge for it. Get them on a hard edge. Just have them turn some material. Have them feel what it's like to climb and crawl across material, and what do the chips look like. And they just don't understand that nuance yet. They weren't taught, what a good chip. What's the coloration on the chip, and what is it telling you? And all those things that a veteran machinist can grab a handful and say, oh, we need to speed up or slow down or whatever we need to do. So yeah, it's so we're trying to navigate all of that while still trying to get finished parts out the door.
Yeah. The never-ending challenge.
It is.
So as we look to wrap up here, in the last couple of years, what do you think are the best moves you've made that have really made a difference in moving the company forward?
Oh, machinery, upgrading my CNCs we overbought when we bought our 9-axis lathe. And I bought my 9-axis lathe and my Haberly 5-axis mill at the recommendation of my machinist. That's how much in a high esteem I hold him. And he said, these two will serve us well. Well, we didn't have a need for a 9-axis lathe. I mean, pity's sake, he hadn't even programmed one before. But those two machines have been running for the last year, 23 hours a day, 7 days a week, just kicking parts out. And that's what's able to allow us to meet critical deadlines or high volume production yields or tight tolerances or whatever the case may be. It's the quality of equipment is necessary. Like I said, we had the Yazda. We wanted to build a stable of equipment around that would say, all right, we're not trying to do this shoestring and bubble gum. We're serious about making sure your parts are the absolute best. So it's scary. It's scary to look at the cost of those machines and the peripheral tooling to get them up and running and all the other stuff. Hey, I'm going to sell you a machine. Great. Well, it didn't come with chucks. Oh my gosh. Now I got to buy $10,000 worth of chucks for this machine. And things that you learn as a new owner that maybe you should ask or look for or read in those things. So the type of machinery and then having the right people working the right machines and then giving them a path forward. So the guys that are running the 3-axis lathes, making sure, do you want to do multi-axis? If you do, let's go. How do we get you on a path to do that so that they know there's a career trajectory for them to improve on? And they know that as an ownership group, my wife and I are going to, keep getting the right machines in front of them to learn and grow and improve their career while the company's growing.
Great advice. Well, I'm sure I can speak for pretty much anyone listening. Appreciate you sharing with us today. Appreciate you investing in buying a machine shop and helping to build it to even be greater than it was before, because you can see the opportunities there are in the industry. That's obviously why you did it. Yeah, we need your story, 10,000 times over the next decade, right? As there's so many shops that are going to change hands. And so, yeah, appreciate you sharing how you're doing that well.
Yeah, we're trying to, and we're happy to help anybody that we can. I mean, that's our goal is not to grow at the loss of others. Our goal is to help others grow with us. And so if that's partnering through subcontracting or anything else, even knowledge sharing, we're happy to do that. the same way we're not going to keep all of it inside for ourselves and try to have that tribal knowledge. We want to help smaller shops with 2-3 machine shops grow. We've partnered with a couple in Chattanooga, Tennessee, Elemental Design and Machine. Fantastic 2 machine shop with Garrett Wolford, and they're doing it right. They've got Pro Shop on their things, and they're just a nice startup for us to partnership. And as we can grow, we can feed them some jobs that suit their needs, and they kick out wonderful parts. So,
oh, it's a great relationship. Yeah, we had many of those when I had my shop, and it's really just feels good. Well, if people want to reach out to do some knowledge sharing or reach out to you for any reason, send you RFQs and orders, how would you recommend people reach out?
The best thing is through our website. It has several links. It was one of the things we redesigned when we took over the company. So it's got a good list of our capabilities, capacity, and a link if they want to contact us. So DelawareMetals.com. Metals is plural. So it's all one word, DelawareMetals.com. And they can send a request. It goes right to my desk, and I get it, and I'll respond within a day.
Okay. Awesome, Scott. Well, thank you again so much for taking the time. Great conversation. I appreciate you sharing with everybody today.
Well, thanks for having us, and we really appreciate what you're doing for machining and machine shops around the nation. So thank you very much.
It's my honor. All right. Have a great day, Scott. Thank you.
Take care.